Coins had been produced by the Greeks and Romans. By the time we reach late medieval Italy, banking houses were extending letters of credit to people in other cities, verified by wax seals that proved the authenticity of their bills and letters of exchange. It was from this foundation that capitalism began to emerge in the 16th and 17th centuries. It did so in a very small regional area, essentially a triangular trade between London, Antwerp, and Amsterdam, centered on the cloth trade. Bourses, the Low Countries term for what we would call a stock exchange, appeared first in the cities of Bruges and Antwerp. London and Amsterdam followed this pattern in the second half of the 16th century. Around the same time, merchants in these cities began forming what are known as joint stock companies, whereby individuals would invest in trading expeditions. In time, the Dutch East India Company and the English East India Company, considered the world's first corporations, were established in London and Amsterdam in 1600 and 1602. Here were all the instruments of capitalism coming together: banks, stock exchanges, corporations, and the ability to invest speculatively in companies. Yet while all of this signaled the beginnings of capitalism, Europe did not become a capitalist continent overnight. Throughout the 17th and most of the 18th centuries, the prevailing economic orthodoxy across the continent was the concept of mercantilism. This held that there was a finite amount of world trade, that the overall volume could not be grown, and therefore each nation had to compete with others to acquire a larger share. For instance, the most profitable trade in the world at the time involved importing spices such as pepper, nutmeg, and cinnamon from the East Indies to Europe. Powers like England, the Dutch Republic, and Portugal believed they had to muscle their opponents out of these markets. Their ships ranged across the waters of the East Indies, attacking one another. It never truly occurred to them that they could all prosper by convincing enough native rulers in what is now Indonesia to trade with all of them. By the mid-18th century, just as the Rothschilds began to emerge onto the European banking scene, this orthodoxy was shifting. Adam Smith had published his landmark work, The Wealth of Nations, in 1776, outlining the foundations of modern capitalist theory. Countries and people were becoming increasingly aware that European wealth could be expanded exponentially, not by fighting one another, but by developing new markets and increasing the overall production of goods. All of this required capital and investment, provided by bankers and financiers. The Rothschilds would soon become the most successful bankers of this new age of capital. As noted, the true founder of the Rothschild banking empire was Meyer Amschel Rothschild. He was born in the city of Frankfurt on the 23rd of February, 1744. At the time, Frankfurt was a free imperial city, meaning it functioned much like an independent city-state, similar to Monaco or Singapore today. There were dozens of these free imperial cities scattered across Germany. Frankfurt was a particularly important one, owing to its size, population, economic reach, and its long-established reputation as the home of a major European book fair, one that continues to this day. Meyer's father was a relatively prosperous businessman in the city. He dealt in commodities and also lent money to local German rulers. Even so, the family was far from wealthy. The Rothschild household at the time was quite large, when extended family members are included, and the home was cramped, with over 24 residents living there at various times.